Hey everybody, this is Rachel, and before I get into the next spirit art drawing, I just wanted to let you know that I will be giving readings on May 23rd at Halo's Holistic Healing Center and Serenity Rocks. They're like basically the same building, and the address is 1309 West Guadalupe Road. I'm pretty sure it's West Guadalupe and not East Guadalupe in Mesa, Arizona. So if you're interested in a reading, you can contact me, and then I do also conduct spirit art readings over the phone. So I don't technically need to be with you in the same room, even though most of my clients are in person. So my minimum reading time is 15 minutes, and then, but I will say that my average reading time is about 35 minutes per spirit art reading. And then the sizes of the drawings is basically one size. It's 19 inches by 12 inches, and it's on this sort of heavy duty drawing paper. And I usually work in colored pencils. As you can see, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll see that I do colored pencils. I also have pastels that I use. I don't use them that often, but that can change. So anyways, with that being said, if you don't know what a spirit art drawing is, I've done a lot of videos on what spirit art is. And one of my teachers was Cora Ryder, and she did more of mediumship that was people that had like recently passed. The type of mediumship I get is more spirit guides, and I do get past loved ones, and then I also get metaphorical messages from the other side about what it is in your highest and greatest good that you need to know right now, which can be either or spirit guides with passed away loved ones too. So it just depends on what it is that you need to hear at the time. So, and with that being said, let's get started on this newest spirit art drawing. Okay, everybody, here is the drawing. Now, I had a lot of self-doubt during this drawing, and now that I have completed the drawing, I have an understanding of what this self-doubt meant, because I drew a lot of snakes, and I do think this has a lot to do with snake vaccines, maybe vaccines that can be used on humans out of snake elements. But this is the researcher. Can you see her? She's right here. This is the researcher that was working a lot on this. She was a doctor. I do think she has passed away, but she did a lot of research into this field, and she had a lot of self-doubt because she did not believe in what she was doing, but she was compelled to do it anyways because she could hear the snakes speaking to her. Like, she had clairaudient abilities, and this was with the snakes specifically. So she was a doctor. She came from a scientific family. She was very scientific herself. She believed a lot in the scientific method. I think it's the scientific method, right? Not the scientific process. Yeah. She worked on this project during her off hours. So she worked on it at night. So I know that there's a big needle here or some sort of syringe under the snakes, but this is also her, and this is like her bun here, or her hairdo, and this is a computer. I saw her working on this at night, like in her basement or else in her living room where there was no lights on except for the light of the computer. This was secretive research. She was doing it very secretively. She didn't think anybody would believe her. Well, first of all, because what she was working on was a little bit nutty. Having to do with snake, a vaccine developed out of snakes. But then she'd have to back up her work, and the work would have been backed up with the snakes told her, or the snakes made these recommendations, or she could communicate with the snakes, and that was her way of getting this information. So she was working on different things, but I don't think she ever got to any sort of trial stage. She was just trying to gather data and research by herself, but like literally it was by herself. There was no team. And yeah, she was not a big believer in magic or mediumship. She definitely didn't believe in psychic abilities. She didn't believe in anything in the woo-woo field at all, because she was 100% scientific. So that's why I was getting a lot of self-doubt that was coming in, and a lot of like stifling as far as like it came to drawing this. It was like in these tiny batches that I was like, okay, I want to draw the next thing, but I wasn't getting anything else because like I need to do the snake first. I had to do the snake, and then I got more. And I had to do the other snake, and then I got more. And then I really wanted a person, and this is who I got. And I do believe she has passed away, because I didn't get her with a lot of colors or anything like that. Okay, so what apparently snakes and humans have in common is something to do with the our immune systems, or like our spiritual immune system, or our etheric immune system, something like this that you can't see, but for some reason we are very connected to the snake family. Maybe like there's some sort of psychic immune system going on, but it's very real, and it very much protects our bodies and our immunity levels. This was coming in quite a bit. And oh, I do think this might have to do with snake venom. Maybe she was working with some sort of snake venom-based vaccine. No one knew, because she didn't tell anybody. I mean, unless she left records around for her grandkids, I really don't think there was anything, because she didn't even want to work on it. Is like she was doing it reluctantly, because the snakes were so persistent, or she was just inundated with this information. And this information didn't just have to do with the immune system and vaccines and snake venom and things. It also had to do with the history of the planet and dragons. So like the snakes, like they hold this information, they hold knowledge, and so they were imparting a lot of information to her. And she's just this doctor scientist. She doesn't even talk to anybody about this. She didn't really know what to do with this information, but she did try to do research like this by herself. And I do think that she was silenced, or else she simply silenced herself because she didn't want to admit, and she didn't believe in her own work. She kind of just didn't tell anybody about it because she was too fearful that it would have to come to light that she could hear the snakes. And she had a relationship with the snakes, like they were her friends and they were her advisors. And I think she joked to herself, and she called herself a witch doctor. I mean, it completely as a joke. I mean, she's not a witch, but I mean, maybe in other lifetimes before this, she would have been a witch, because this, I mean, what she was working on would have been considered completely crazy. Yeah, so she learned about the history of dragons from the snakes, like I have said, and then snakes. So she said snakes are a blessing. Even the snakes were saying this at this point. That when we see them, like when we see them in our yard, in our garden, if we go on the hike and we see them, like they are a blessing. Should we be scared? Yes, we should be scared. We should be scared, but we shouldn't be scared in the fact that we don't know anything. It should be, we're scared in, as in respect. Like we need to give them our respect. And we should also be joyful when we see them, not just scared. Okay, let me check my notes to see what else. So some names I got were Nancy and or Mary, kind of like names along those lines. I don't know if they were her names. Maybe they were names of her grandchildren or somebody who continued on her work, albeit not directly from her. Maybe she departed her information somehow on the spirit level, because let's face it, she kind of didn't want to tell anybody about her work during her lifetime. Possible cure. I do think she was working on a cure. She believed that the cure could work, like it was going to work. It was just that when it came to backing up her work, she would have to divulge information about, she got the information from the snakes, and she did not want to do that. The snakes didn't care. The snakes were like, well, we've been communicating with humans for centuries, so what's the big deal? But like I said, she came from a scientific background. Okay, so what is the message here? The message here, I kind of touched on it a little bit. The message here is that the snake realm is here to help us, and they can offer some sort of cure. What sort of cure specifically, I don't know. It could be held in their venom. I already know that there's anti-venom. I mean, everybody knows about that. But their existence can help us overcome sickness in the third dimension where we live. They're here to help us. We should fear them, but it's more like of respectful fear. When we see them, it's a great sign that we should be joyful about, because they're our friends and neighbors and cohabitors of this planet. So I hope this was helpful for somebody. And if you know anything about this, this woman, this research, some of these animals look more like salamanders or some sort of amphibians. I do think she heard a lot clairaudiently from salamanders and other amphibious types of creatures too. It wasn't just snakes. Have any information, please let me know. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.